It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Hello, good morning, guys. It's the 8th of August 2019. So it's 8. It's as a month 8, and it's 8 a.m. CET. Nice. Time to wake up, and that's the pre-London live market coverage here. Piotr, good morning. Guys, let's start with risk warning. Please bear in mind trading effects on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for investors who can sustain a loss of some or all initial investments, so please do not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. Seek education and experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Alright, good morning. Looks like a little bit of the problem with the chat. Doesn't work properly. Anyway, plenty of different things going on. We had two different verbal interventions. We had a verbal intervention related to the oil market from the Saudis, saying that all options are on the table to try to stop oil prices drop. On the other hand, we had, as usual, verbal intervention from the President Trump, saying that Fed should cut bold and SAP, right? So there should be the big cut, and that should be done as soon as possible. There are speculations in relation to the Brexit that Boris Johnson may call elections right one day after the Brexit, and there was a survey done by Reuters in relation to the no deal Brexit, in relation to the Brexit, where the no deal Brexit odds jumps, and many seen cable below 120. Of course, Goldman is on the opposite side of that. Here is the link to that survey from the Reuters. Of course, Goldman is on the opposite side, saying that there is going to be the deal, and they see cable at 130. Okay, we'll see. Maybe Goldman wants more shorts and there are no buyers of cable, so he's trying to create the market. That could be the case as well, and that's as mentioned, and it's George Cole from Goldman expects that there's going to be Brexit deal and orderly exit by year end. Yeah, that's basically that's it. One more thing. I'm sorry, guys. Chinese yuan, right? There was expectations the PBOC will set up the reference rate around 702. It was much lower, and that's the explanation some are trying to use for the risk on jump, right? Like continuation of the move to the higher, for example, on Nasdaq. But we are going to discuss all these things. Let's start with oil and this verbal intervention yesterday towards the end of the US session. And the thing is, here from the oil perspective, we get higher weekly inventories, right? That's what market didn't expect. So there was a huge sell-off after the data, as you can see, and then there was a verbal intervention, right? So oil jumped. Now let's have a look from the higher time frame where we are, what happened, and what might be next for oil. Well, if you remember, we were talking about the level around 50-50 as a place where we saw the weakness and move down towards 40, right? Since we moved above that level here and we hold this level here, right? The next two tests we were holding this level, and yesterday, boom, no surprise. So it was right on time, the intervention. And we saw the rally, right? But I think we are not done yet with oil, and as long as we are below 60, I'm sorry, but for me it looks like 36 might be on the cards. I'm not saying today, tomorrow, I'm saying medium long term. There are plenty of oil on the market. Now, okay, so you know, it's good to say what's the expectations, but it's also good to explain based on what I do have this kind of the explanation. So overall, my entry is this whole big drop of the prices, right? From the September 2018 or October 2018, and we ended around the end of the year, right, of 2018. So that's what I'm taking into consideration. Lately, what I'm checking is the price action here, and especially the levels where we stop, and this price action lately, right? And especially where we stop, right? So what I've checked, it was how big the bounce after the initial sell-off, how big the bounce was, and it was 62 when you are using the Fibonacci, right? So we recovered by 62%. Now I do expect very similar action right now, meaning that I do expect 62 because of this verbal intervention, right? I do expect 62 from here, right? As well. In that case, we are talking about the levels close to 57. And if you are watching where we are, and where is this 62? We are not going to discover America, but that's some kind of the supply, right, around this level. And it's a daily, so let's stay with the green. So somewhere here, right? And cannot rule it out. We might see the spike even towards 59.65, just to have this over under in play. Okay, just to have this over under in play, but that's it. As long as we are below the high, so as I mentioned, we are below 60, below 60.50, I think we are going to let me remove, I'm gonna change the color. So what we have right now, we have this type of the situation, and I do expect the prices will drop. I'm calling this as an under own weight, right? So we did it like this, same bottom, but the tops are, we have a lower highs, and right now it's gonna be something like this, and I do expect a drop to the downside. And how I get this 36, after the break I'm taking the bigger wave, right, and that's around 36. If we are going to make the ideal measure, right, it should be something around 36. So yeah, that's my expectations, and I provided the explanation to my expectations from the medium and long-term perspective. Again, as long as we are below 60, 50 based on the daily close, that's how I see right now. Waiting patiently for because the weakest shorts, right, based on what we've seen yesterday, the weakest short might be forced to cover. So we might see some kind of the continuation of the higher levels, yeah, towards my levels, right? So we will see. So that's how the things looks like from the oil perspective. That's how I see the things. The rally, right, yesterday. Actually, when we are going to take into the consideration the price action after the EEA news, right? So the thing is that here on the hourly chart, if it looks like V formation, but the truth is that we didn't hurt sellers yet, right? So yeah, very interesting what's going to happen over the course of the day. And as you know, I do prefer to watch oil during the New York session. All right, so that's it in relation to the verbal intervention, Saudi's verbal intervention in relation to the oil. Right now it's yeah, we already passed the 8:10. So let's check if Michał is around and if he can and what he has for us. Give me 1 second, guys. So please stay with me. I'll be back with Michał within a few seconds. Good morning, Mr. Michał. How are you doing? It's
Good
almost
morning.
8:15.
Yeah, I was wondering if you ever gonna call me today.
No, it was 50-50. I've been thinking, shall I or I shouldn't? Okay.
Yeah, I thought, oh, maybe.
Finally, I called you. So all over to you right now. What do you have for us?
Okay, maybe we will start from the shortly about the Eurozone, the UK, about the Eurozone. We see that in July, the euro is under pressure of the weak manufacturing data, industrial production from the Germany, and I think that yeah, all the statistics, all the data seems like they are showing us that the German economy will be still in the recession at the end of the year. So effectively, it will cause the low. I think it will cause the lower readings about the GDP as a whole of the Eurozone, and that is the most important thing at the moment,
So
as we see.
Why we are here on euro dollar instead of being below 110?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe yeah, it's like the short term, right? At the moment we are at this level, but we are still on this resistance, right? So I think it depends. If we will go above that, yeah, the sentiment may change, and I don't know. May change, may still like push the bulls higher, but yeah, I'm euro dollar a little bit bear, small bear at the moment.
Same here. But what we I'm not sure if you have it, but or if you heard but we had a verbal intervention again from the President Trump side, saying that it's not because of the China, it's all right now it's all because of the Fed, because they don't want to cut in a bold manner and fast. So right now it's not the China,
Yes.
it's a Fed. But to be honest with you, I've been monitoring the market after that intervention. Nothing special happened. So looks like market is already a little bit tired of the President Trump tweets and comments.
I will reach that point later when we will discuss the US US side of my.
So give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute because you were talking about the euro. So let's have a look on the chart briefly.
Yes, please.
What we have here, and there is a second day in a row. We closed again below the levels we were discussing. We had some kind of the tweezer bottom over here, and yesterday and during the previous analysis, I've been pointing these levels 1225, 1250 as a key from the medium term perspective, and looks like we created two upper shadows right now. I'm not gonna be surprised if we are going to create another one to the upside. What is going on right now? The important thing is that we are testing the Monday high, and that's another point into the bears basket that they manage. Even we were above, they managed yesterday and day before to close below the Monday high. That's the key. So what's my approach? Still think 1225, 1250 as a supply from the intraday perspective. And what I'm gonna to look for eventually, I'm gonna to make the measure in between the distance between the high we've seen on Tuesday and the high we've seen yesterday, and I'm gonna to make it from the yesterday high to try to expect today high, and it's something around 1230 on a little bit higher. So from the bear side to perspective right now, either we are going to hold this Monday high, so we have this stop count based on the two upper shadows, and we will start to see the falling prices. On the other hand, we might retest 1235, 1240 again to start to create the third upper shadow. On the other hand, from the bulls perspective, we didn't actually hit 2 days ago, we didn't hit this manipulation level, so still is valid 1160, 1130, where I do prefer 1140, 1130, the lowest band of this possible demand. So nothing has changed. Watching carefully euro dollar. Back to you, Michał.
I wanted just to add that about the Fed and the Trump speech. Of course you are right. I think this the euro dollar will be consolidating still at the moment, as we can see it right now. It's trying to push lower or higher there in some range. And I think that Trump wants to make a dollar weaker by those interventions, right? So I think it's maybe because of that we see, despite very weak data and very weak estimates about the GDP and whole economic outlook for the EU, we see that the euro went a little bit higher in the recent couple of days, right?
Yeah.
So okay, we can go further.
Yeah, sure.
Next point. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
You are the star right now.
About the UK economy, I will just say that the no deal Brexit expectations are getting higher and higher, and getting more like a realistic scenario, because Boris Johnson is. When they accuse him that what they were doing about for the whole 3 years, right, and then they want to just renegotiate the deal that was in last 3 months, then it's not possible. Are saying the Euro representatives for the Brexit, And he said, no, we want a deal, we want a deal. But in the meantime, he is all the time speaking with Northern Ireland about the border deal, with Pompeo about the possible new deals with the US, and is more likely to preparing the country, everybody for the no deal Brexit outcome. So it's still a big pressure on the UK economy and.
So let's have a look. Let's have a look what
and
we have on
GDP,
two
right?
charts. Let's have a look what we have on two charts from the British pound perspective, and that's also what I've mentioned, that there is a link on the chat into that Reuters survey that expectations about the no deal Brexit, the odds jumped a bit.
Right.
So based on that survey, analysts expectations are that before the October. The pound will fall lower versus dollar below 120. We will see. Let's start with euro pound, because it's very interesting where we are. There is a huge, as you can see, huge breakout based on what we've seen over the course of 2018, and looks like we are approaching. If you remember, there was a flash crash on the pound, and that's one of the reasons we saw on the euro pound such a huge levels. Now because we are on a daily chart, so let's have a look where we are from that perspective. What might be the next target on the euro pound. In that case, I think that let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. That's the clear swing high, right? In that case, that's the possible target right now. I'm talking about the levels close to 92.70 and 93.05, and looks like we are approaching these levels fast. There is still right now, after the price action we've seen previous week and this week, there is still support, or we can call it demand, down towards 91.70, 91.50. So let's switch lower if there is a possibility to try to join the party eventually to the upside. And I think that as long as we are trying to hold intraday rising trend line, right, we are testing this trend line right now, we might try to join this party. The final target, as I mentioned, 92.70 and 93.05 from the short-term perspective. Now, how to try to eventually jump in. You want to see some kind of the similar situation as we had on Tuesday. So you want to see the attempt to break lower with lower shadow, a positive body. So that's what I'm looking for from the bulls perspective. On the other hand, because where we are right now, and because of what we've seen here on the euro pound, and we've seen this stop hunt to the upside, one may try to call it. I'm not sure if anyone can see it, but it's possible we might create some kind of the not classical, but but still something looks like head and shoulders over here. So in case of the breakdown through this line, I think that if we are going to break through this line, the 91.70 we were talking is gonna be tested again, and we might see a little bit lower levels just based on equal waves here and eventually here. So we might break and retest even 91.50 again. So we might try to create some kind of a consolidation. So yeah, from the bulls perspective, you want to see something similar to what we've seen 2 days ago. So lower shadow, higher levels. From the bears perspective, you want to try to break this bottom of the channel and create head and shoulders. From the cable perspective, briefly, from the cable perspective, yeah, we are trying to consolidate above 2080, and looks like this 2080 right now might be the key short term to the downside. In case of breaking down through 2080, I think 120 is a matter of minutes if we are going, or maybe hour or so, if we are going to break 2080, and then all about the psychological 120 to the upside. Right now, the latest supply still trying to hold the market, so 22.10, 22.50 as a possible supply. Unfortunately, we didn't get my levels. I'm still the fan of 22.80, 23.20 for now. As you can see, over the course of this week, we have some kind of the consolidation on the cable. Back to you, Michał.
Okay. Maybe we'll switch right now for the yen. We were having in the morning some readings. Let me go also to that. Yeah. Adjusted current account. It's sort of a trade balance for the Japan, and it's all the both readings were higher than the estimates, and yeah, so I think at the moment it's a good reading, but you can see also that there was a reading for the foreign bonds buying, and it rose previously from it lowered around 181 billions, and right now it rose for the 286 billions, and I don't know if you can imagine which bonds they were buying before, right? Which were the most like the profitable looked as a good deal.
US, right?
I don't know. Maybe you're right.
That's what I think. Anyway, looks ugly. There was a chance on Tuesday to try to get back above the weekly open, but I've been saying that I do expect a little bit higher levels towards 107.60. It didn't materialize. We closed 2 days ago under the weekly open, yesterday under the weekly open, two lower shadows, so we are trapped right now in between 106.50 weekly open and Monday low, and the lower low created yesterday and day before by the shadows. So let's switch a little bit lower, and here I've been looking for a possibility. That's what happened over the course of the Tokyo session yesterday. I've been looking for a possibility that market will hold this manipulation level. It didn't, went lower, mostly because of we were witnessing during the first few minutes of the New York session. Then towards the end of the day, it was much more positive. So right now, a little bit of the adjustment, a little bit of preparation, and still there is a possibility we are going to see the demand down towards 105.50. If we are not, because there was already we've seen two attempts to break through 105.50. Quite an important level, looks like. So in case of another approach and failure around this level, that might be some kind of the disappointment, and we might see the shorts starting to cover. In that case, we might see rally back towards the supply we discussed previously, 107.30. So overall we are not going to discover America if we will have some kind of the consolidation going on here on dollar yen, but the key is to hold 105.50. I'm going to watch this level. I'm going to try to based on the price action, because if I'm going to see the Niagara Falls without any stop through this level, of course I'm not gonna try to buy. But if we are going lower and test this 105.50 level, I'm going to switch to smaller time frame, and in case of the positive price action, I will try to get back with tight stop at least towards the weekly open. So because of a little bit of risk on, thanks to the yuan, I think we might have such a chance here on the dollar yen, especially that there is some space from the Nasdaq perspective to try to push a little bit higher, so create this risk on environment. Still, I think 7,730, and that might be the first supply. Nice recovery, retest, closing the business based on the swing low, going a little bit higher. We will see. Back to you, Michał.
According to the yen, maybe I think it's more like the couple small reasons why yen can strengthen at the moment. It's because of the sentiment of the safe haven currency, and as those readings about the trade balance, and also we have read that they reached an agreement with South Koreans for the technology solutions for the for the tech companies in South Korea. We see also the readings about the inflation. The Bank of Japan sees that the target inflation in 2% is still relative at the moment, but we have to be also they have to be also a little bit careful, right? Because they say that they will monitor the external risks, and if it will be necessary, they will take actions. But as Japanese Bank of Japan is one of the biggest banks that have the fewest options at the moment. They already have
they out of the options, in my opinion. Yes. They already owning most of the Japanese ETFs and stuff like this. So it's anyway. I'm sorry disturbing you. Sorry.
No. Great. Add what you want to say. It's not a problem. And I think that's that's what you said, more like the consolidation at the moment. We will have to see some like the strongest information from the US, maybe from the US data, and some more information. Like we will see some emergency rate cut, which I think won't happen. But if there will be enough pressure, that might move the markets a bit, at least in the short term.
To be honest with you, we would have to, I don't know, go down another 10% to have this emergency Fed cut.
Yeah, I think also.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's, never say never, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Michał, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Already we're ending?
Sorry?
Already we're ending? I thought we will discuss.
Yeah, we are running out of the time. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
There is nothing extraordinary from the calendar perspective. We just have, as usual, unemployment claims, weekly jobless claims, and a 30-year bond auction later today. From the US perspective, nothing extraordinary during the London hours. More to come over the next Asian session, as we are going to get RBA monetary policy statement, as well as preliminary GDP from the Japan, and inflation out of China, right?
Yes, that's right. But maybe you will give me 1 minute to very briefly
60 seconds for you.
I was very specific read about it. This Trump game, as we can call it right now, that the Fed can have a bigger problem than the China. The bigger problem might be the liquidity in the market, right? That is also the reason why Trump is shouting so loud on the Twitter that they need to need to lower the rates and extend the balance sheet, or maybe start the QE, because that can be a little bit bigger problem. I think it's like a fog, a cover that the trade trade war with China. And as we can see after the Chinese statement that they will not buy the farm products from US, we also having a big information that it will be causing a very large amount of bankruptcy in the US, farm bankruptcies. And right now the government went through the bill that the farms with the bigger amount of debt, from $4 to $10 million, can fall to bankruptcy without a bigger problem, without a bigger requirements of the administration terms. It will be fall very easier for them. And I think that the farmers will be more like the victims of this whole game, And it's I want to agree very much with you. You have a very good point with this with the game. It's all about the elections, and he's playing it very well, Mr. Trump, right? I think he just play the farmers for the victim at the moment, but it can cause also the slower for the GDP, and we might also thinking that that the economy, the readings from the U.S. economy were very good. So why bother to starting this whole problem with China, right? Is it all about the ambition? I think it's he made it very complicated, and he's reaching his points by pressing making a bigger pressure for the Fed with this trade wars, with those farm products. If he really and he tweeted also, right, that he cares about the farmers and do everything that no other president done that, didn't support this industry, this group, and he will do it again in the next year if it's necessary. But I think, if he really wanted to make this deal, he wouldn't be shouting so loud that Chinese buy those products, because every reasonable person would act as Chinese acted at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Okay. I will not be taking much. It's. I think it will be for the next meeting. We will like this reserve more time for that and discuss this much more specific.
Thank you, Michał. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great London session, and see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, see you again. Bye bye.
All right. Let's talk about the gold. As we are short of time, let's talk about the gold. Eventually the top around 1490 didn't materialize. So let's check what we have and where we can go from here. I made the measure of the last move to the upside and was trying to find the equal wave right now based on the low ahead of the breakout, right? So that's either we are around the possible turning point, but I'm not saying we are going to change the overall direction. What I'm saying that short term it might cause some kind of the pullback in case of trying to make the measure with the candle doing the breakout. We still have a chance to visit 1535, 1540. Now let's switch to the lower time frame, and that's what we discussed yesterday. Because of this double top over here with those two upper shadows, I've been expecting some move to the downside based on the previous size of the correction, right? It didn't materialize, so the plan was either to go with the break and close below that formation, or after the failure in case of the breakout. Thankfully, it was the breakout without the look back, so there was no failure, move higher. Now, as you can see, we already did the size of the correction we've seen for quite a few times already. So we did it towards the end of the US session, and we are trying to consolidate over the Asian hours, right? So right now there is some kind of the consolidation, and we're trying to hold the bottom of that consolidation. In case in case of the breakdown, because we already did such a move, I would expect a little bit bigger move to the downside, right? Now, what kind of the move to the downside I would expect? It might be this type of the sell-off, and in that case, if that's going to happen, right, we might retest the levels we were discussing yesterday as possible buying levels. In that case, I'm talking about this breakout over here, and as you can see, we are going to be based on this size of the move. Let me check if I did it correctly. Yeah, sorry. So based on this, we are going to have a chance for a deeper pullback towards 1475. So bulls, short term, be very, very careful. It might be market, or some bulls who are already longer on the market, they might be tempted because of the levels to try to take some profits, and in case of breaking the Tokyo low, in case of breaking the late New York low, we might see a little deeper pullback. So no rush to try to trade long side. If you are a bear, you have to be extremely careful. There is no reason to try to be too early on the market. In case of the break of the Asian low, holding below might be the retest. Maybe 50% of that consolidation may work out. There is also possibility of a little bit of the pullback on gold because of possible risk on sentiment based on what I already mentioned, dollar, Chinese yuan, and as long as we hold this swing high here, right, the positive sentiment may be visible on the market. So be careful. Have the dollar Chinese yuan chart open, and that's how I see the things for this European session. A little bit risk on sentiment possible. Guys, it was a pleasure to be with you this morning, and have a great rest of the London session, and see you around. Goodbye.